They never found his real name, not in the military records, not in the prison system, not in any town database or dog tag registry, but they found his jacket, folded neatly on a scorched patch of dirt just outside Fallujah, bullet holes in the chest, dried blood crusted down the sleeves, and inside the lining, hand-stitched in black thread, was a single word: retribution. The Pentagon marked it unclaimed remains, but in the month that followed, stories spread like wildfire, whispers in the barracks, radio chatter from convoys, a sniper's diary recovered from Mosul. Saw him again, the one with no shadow. He walks like a ghost but shoots like thunder. They called him the Gangster Soldier. Some said he was CIA. Others claimed he was ex-cartel, turned war-hungry patriot. A few swore he wasn't human at all, but they all agreed on one thing. Wherever he showed up, the enemy stopped breathing. And sometimes so did his own side. It started officially in 2004, though unofficially. His record goes back further, much further. A man with no fingerprints joined a private military contractor operating outside Baghdad. No paperwork, no ID, just a weathered duffel bag, and a reputation that arrived 3 days before he did. The crew called him RJ after the word in his jacket. They joked at first, thought he was just another burned-out vet with a grudge. But RJ never laughed. He never took off his gloves, never slept in the same spot twice, never missed a shot. In one operation, insurgents took over a hospital, rigging the roof with IEDs. Local intel warned, no survivors expected. RJ went in alone. 17 minutes later, he walked out carrying 2 children, both alive. There were no survivors left inside, of any kind. When his squad asked what happened, RJ said only, "Some people need reminders." That's when the nightmares began. First it was whispers. Other soldiers claimed they heard someone pacing their tents at night, boots dragging in gravel, even when no one was on patrol. Then it was the dreams. A medic named Ortiz wrote in her journal, "I keep seeing the same man, dressed in our uniform, but darker somehow. He stands at the foot of my bed, mouth open, like he's screaming, but no sound comes out." RJ never confirmed anything, but he always knew who was next. One night, a corporal confessed he'd beaten an Iraqi civilian. RJ didn't respond. Next morning, that corporal was found in the motor pool, face down in oil, dog tags missing, spine broken like a snapped pencil. No one filed a report. No one asked questions. That's when the squad started calling him the shadow you deserve. Back home, RJ disappeared for 2 years. No discharge papers. No official record of entry or exit. But bodies turned up, always near military bases. Always men with dishonorable conduct records, court-martialed for war crimes, rape, or theft. Their bodies bore identical markings. One shell casing in the mouth, a folded flag clenched in the fist, a black thread sewn into the wrist. Police blamed gangs. The army blamed each other. But soldiers in the know blamed the ghost they called the Gangster Soldier. In 2008, a detective in Detroit picked up a case that didn't make sense. 3 ex-Marines found murdered in a warehouse. Burnout eyes, throat slit with surgical precision. One message written in ash on the concrete floor: "You left your brothers." The detective asked for security footage. There was none. Only one still frame, corrupted and grainy. A tall figure walking away in fatigues. No face, no shadow. The detective reached out to the army. They sent 2 men in suits who asked more questions than they answered. The case was closed in 48 hours. Ruled a triple suicide. The detective never worked again. But before he left the department, he filed one last note. If you're reading this, he's still out there, and he's not done yet. RJ resurfaced in Kandahar in 2010. No deployment papers, no orders. But there he was, standing at the edge of an airfield in the middle of a dust storm, arms folded, watching the wind chew through the fence line. The guards didn't stop him, didn't ask questions. One swore his retina scanner shorted out just trying to read the man. Within 24 hours, 5 IED emplacements were found and defused. No reports. No tech logs. Just a sticky note taped to the base commander's door. You're welcome. Do better. The next night, insurgents tried to ambush a fuel convoy. The whole line should have gone up, but somehow they were already waiting. Snipers in position. Tripwires ready. Enemy forces eliminated before the first shot fired. When command asked who prepped the route, nobody answered. But the name RJ kept popping up in whispered briefings, passed around like a ghost story. A warning, a weapon. By then, soldiers had started keeping journals. Not about missions, about sightings. RJ would appear in the middle of patrols, walking alone across minefields like he knew exactly where not to step. He'd vanish before debriefs, avoid sat phones, never enter command tents. But everyone had a story. One said he saw RJ drinking water from a canteen full of blood. Another swore RJ didn't blink, even when flashbangs went off his face. And then there was Private Ellison. He claimed RJ saved him from an ambush, pulled him into a ruined building, stitched his bleeding leg, then whispered, "Next time, don't turn your back on someone who prays after pulling the trigger." When Ellison blinked, RJ was gone, but his leg had been sewn with black thread, tight, perfect. No medic on base claimed credit. Stateside, rumors began to swirl. A Pentagon analyst found something in RJ's psych profile, something redacted so many times it looked like a barcode. But one phrase slipped through: not recommended for reintegration. Exhibits reactive justice pathology. Responds only to moral instinct, not chain of command. Whatever that meant, it didn't stop him. The analyst went missing a week later. His apartment had no signs of forced entry, just a bullet casing left on the windowsill. .45 caliber, hand-etched with name, Omar. Nobody knew who Omar was, but RJ did. Then came the haunted outpost. Afghanistan, 2011. Remote FOB Bravo. Standard elevation, limited personnel, regular supply drops, until they stopped checking in. First it was radio silence. Then 2 drones vanished trying to scan the perimeter. Finally, a QRF team was sent in. What they found didn't make the news. The men inside Bravo were alive, but wrong. Sitting in a perfect circle around the campfire. Eyes open, mouth stitched shut. Every one of them had a bullet placed between their boots and carved into the dirt behind them. Loyalty is a choice. RJ's name wasn't mentioned in the official report, but a boot print was found outside the wire. Size 12, steel-toe military issue. Tread pattern matched those found at 2 other classified scenes, including the Detroit warehouse. The print ended mid-stride, as if the person vanished into the air. After that, things got darker. Veterans from RJ's early missions started dying in odd ways. One drowned in a dry bathtub. Another was found buried standing upright in his backyard, his hands clutched together like prayer. All of them had once served with RJ. All of them had participated in black site ops. One of the survivors, Captain Briggs, turned himself in. He walked into the FBI field office in Maryland and handed them a letter. For pages. Confession. Every dirty op. Every ghost mission. Every unmarked grave. He ended it with, "Tell RJ I'm sorry. I see it now. I hear the boots." He died in his holding cell the next morning. No wounds. No poison. Just stopped. A CCTV frame captured his final moment. Eyes wide, mouth open, as if staring at something no one else could see. Behind him, in the grain of the cell wall, was a shadow. It didn't match his shape, or the camera, or the light source, and it looked like it had gloves. By 2012, RJ had gone completely off-grid, not just missing from databases, missing from memory. His old squad didn't remember his name, couldn't recall missions where he was present. Photos blurred at the edges when he was nearby, like the camera lens rejected him. One digital analyst called it intentional corruption, said it felt like something didn't want him archived. The analyst vanished 2 days later. All they found was a hard drive, fried. The screen frozen on one sentence typed in Notepad. "Stop trying to bury the dead who can still walk." Then came Operation Sandhook, not in any official record, but every intelligence circle whispered about it. A secret op in Syria. Multiple private contractors deployed. No official flags. No insignias. Target: a warlord suspected of trafficking uranium and artifacts looted from ancient burial sites. It should have been standard, until comms dropped, until heart monitors flatlined, until satellite surveillance went black. The recovery team sent in after 3 days found the camp burned to the ground, every structure reduced to ash, but no signs of battle, no bullet holes, no blood, just shadows, charred outlines of human forms seared into the sand, like people had stood still as the fire passed through them, all except one figure, one shape at the edge of the camp, walking away, gloves, jacket, black thread trailing behind him, dancing in the wind like smoke. The CIA called it a freak electrical storm. The locals called it the night the air screamed. After that, RJ was seen in places no soldier should have been. The Sudanese border, where a child soldier coup fell apart overnight. The cartel tunnels near El Paso, where guards were found weeping, eyes burned out. Even in Chechnya, where insurgents claimed a silent American came in the fog and took their sins. No footage, no records, just rumors. Whispers of a man who arrived without being called, who took lives without permission, and vanished before anyone could ask his name. Some claimed he was government. Others thought he was justice itself. But the stories changed, because RJ stopped going after enemies. He started going after men in suits. In 2013, a defense contractor's private jet exploded mid-flight. The pilot's final transmission. We're not alone up here. 6 weeks later, a former senator died of an aneurysm at a speaking event about the military-industrial illusion. His mouth was sewn shut at the autopsy. By 2014, 10 men with classified clearance levels had vanished. All had voted to fund Black Ops. All had signed off on acceptable lost doctrines. All had profited from war. Every single one of them had also once served. And every one of them had crossed paths with a soldier whose name they couldn't remember, but whose eyes they never forgot. Then came the Camp K incident, a secret black site buried in Alaska's tundra, designed for off-record containment of wartime anomalies. Only a few knew it existed. Fewer survived what happened there. A storm cut off access for 5 days. When contact was reestablished, the base commander sent one final, encrypted message. He's here. The rescue team found no bodies. No blood. No bullets. No scorch marks. Just an eerie hum from beneath the snow. And a message carved into the steel door, 5 inches deep, as if done with a blade that wasn't meant for human hands. You made this. By now, RJ wasn't a person anymore. He was a consequence. You heard his name whispered between war zones, scrawled on cave walls in chalk, muttered in radio static at 3:33 a.m. One U.S. colonel said, "He's what happens when war forgets who it's fighting for." But the truth ran deeper, because RJ wasn't just killing bad men. He was erasing them. Paper trails collapsed. Digital files corrupted. Eyewitnesses forgot details within days. It was as if the universe itself was helping him, rewriting the pages as he turned them. Then one final report made it through. A journalist embedded in a private PMC convoy in the Congo picked up a strange transmission. 3 words. He's watching now. A minute later, the convoy vanished. No black box. No tire tracks. No satellite image. Just silence. When the journalist's phone was recovered months later from an aid worker's bag, it contained only one file. A photo, dark, grainy, but clear enough to see a figure standing in the middle of the road. Military jacket, face blurred, hands gloved. Behind him, a row of bodies, heads bowed, a phrase scrawled into the dirt and blood. I answer no flag, only the fallen. By 2015, RJ wasn't just a name whispered on bases or Black Ops reports. He had become a warning in every war zone, not against enemies, against arrogance, The kind of arrogance that lets powerful men forget the cost of the choices they make. The kind of arrogance that assumes no one is watching. But someone was. And now, he was watching from places no soldier should be. A drone crew in Nevada reported a live feed glitch during surveillance over Syria. At exactly 3:33 a.m., their screen froze. The infrared feed began to pulse, slowly shifting from black and white to blood red, then static. Then a single frame, RJ walking through smoke. Behind him, rows of corpses, uniformed but faceless. The technician hit the kill switch. Hard reboot. The drone never turned back on. When the footage was reviewed later, that frame was gone. But in its place, binary code. Decoded, it spelled a sentence. They asked for a reckoning. I became it. In 2016, a NATO Special Research Unit invited 3 psychics, quietly, into a secure base in Germany. They were asked a single question: is RJ still alive? One medium vomited blood and passed out. Another screamed, "He's not a man anymore." The third whispered something so soft, it had to be enhanced. "He's walking between the bullets now." That audio file was wiped from all official databases within the week. But not before a whistleblower leaked it to a dark web archive. It ended with a final, glitching line, spoken in RJ's voice. "Tell them the battlefield still remembers." Then came the March 14th event, a moment no one officially acknowledged. 5 military satellites, each operated by different countries, simultaneously recorded an electromagnetic pulse over the Bering Sea. No storm, no conflict, just a silent surge of static. And then, over 1,000 disconnected radio receivers across the globe, RJ's voice was heard. "Crisp, measured, calm as a funeral bell. You gave me the rules. I followed them. You broke them. I rewrote them." Each recording was slightly different, but the timing? Exact. 3:33 a.m. The same moment every night RJ is seen in reports, sightings, dreams. Always 3:33. As if that minute belongs to him now. One soldier claimed he met RJ, not in a war zone, in a VFW bar in Texas. Said he saw a man sitting in the corner alone, gloves on, drink untouched, face in shadow. The soldier tried to thank him, rambling about justice and ghosts and revenge. RJ looked up slowly and said only this: "Justice dies in daylight, but I don't." Then he left. When the soldier checked the bar's security footage, the man wasn't there. But in the footage, every patron paused for exactly 1 minute. Not moving, not blinking, just staring at nothing. The timestamp? 3:33. They say RJ doesn't kill for country anymore. He kills for the war itself. The forgotten ones. The ones who were silenced. The ones buried in sealed files and unmarked graves. He's become a kind of echo, a consequence. The reaper that follows orders long after the generals forget. And there are rules now. Quiet one soldiers pass to each other like old prayers. Never take a trophy from a kill. Never fire into a village and call it neutralization. And never ever say acceptable losses on comms. Because if you do, you might hear boots behind you. And then silence. In 2017, one of the last surviving generals from RJ's original unit gave a private interview. Sick, delirious, his voice thin, but he said something no one could ignore. "We thought we built a weapon. What we made was a mirror." He died that night, not from illness. His lungs collapsed inward, medically impossible. The coroner wrote, "Asphyxiation without cause." But inside the general's mouth was a single thread, black, sewn to his tongue. The stitch pattern matched every previous RJ Link case. None had ever been public. None ever leaked. Until now, some stories fade. This one never did, because RJ didn't disappear. He became harder to explain. In 2020, a journalist in Ukraine found something buried beneath a collapsed Soviet bunker near Pripyat. No military markings, no radiation decay, just a sealed crate. Inside, a blood-stained American jacket, M81 camo, faded, bullet-scarred, stuff inside the chest pocket, a black thread, and a Polaroid, blurry, mouth mid-scream, eyes wide. But undeniably, it was the same man seen in that Detroit warehouse, the same silhouette in the drone footage, the same ghost in the Kandahar storm. On the back, someone had written in Russian, "He walks the places where sins are buried." We tried to silence him, but he remembers everything. The journalist published it. The next day, he disappeared. All that remained was his phone. Screen shattered, stuck on 3:33 a.m. A year later, an encrypted folder leaked on an anonymous server. Thousands of documents, all redacted, but one video survived. Grainy, static-laced, a soldier stands alone in a cave, breathing hard. Behind him, a voice says, "You don't get to bury your war crimes and walk away." The soldier begs, sobs, swears he was following orders. Then the camera cuts to black. Only audio remains. A shot, a heartbeat, and then Boots walking away. But it wasn't just Boots anymore. By 2023, RJ wasn't appearing in war zones. He was showing up in places of power. Government buildings, defense summits, corporate towers. Unseen, unprovable, but always felt. A diplomat in Geneva collapsed mid-speech. Autopsy inconclusive, but when his laptop was retrieved, it contained a single message sent minutes before his death. RJ was here. He says we're all guilty. No one claimed responsibility. No one replied. Because how do you fight a man who isn't alive in your system anymore? How do you silence a ghost made from your own sins? The Department of Defense quietly opened Project Lazarus, a black-budget initiative aimed at tracing post-operational anomalies. Unofficially, it was called the RJ Project. They tried everything: facial tracking, genetic profiling, even classified psychic tech. Every attempt failed. Either the data erased itself, or the researchers quit, or died. One file titled Case Last Sighting contained a handwritten note from a DoD cryptographer. I've reviewed 73 military deaths this year. 11 matched RJ style. The world thinks we're losing soldiers to suicide. What if it's something else? What if the war never ended for him? What if he became the war? Then came the testimony that changed everything. A retired Delta operator, known only as Cole, requested a private audience before Congress. He had one sentence prepared. I served with RJ. He died in Iraq. But that was the last time anyone buried him. Not the last time he walked. The chamber went silent. He continued. He was real. But what he is now, you made him. You left to rot. He just came back to finish the cleanup. The hearing was never televised. Cole vanished a week later. His house burned to the ground. On the doorframe, one word had been carved before the flames took it. Remember. Today, no one officially speaks RJ's name, but every soldier deployed in the black zone still follows the same rules. Never take more than you're given. Never forget the ones who didn't make it home. And if you ever hear footsteps behind you at 3:33 a.m., don't turn around, because if you see him, it means he already judged you. The final story came from a boy in New Mexico. He'd been playing in a junkyard near a decommissioned military base. Found an old helmet. Inside, a note yellowed and curled. In childish handwriting, he wrote down what it said. I don't stop wars. I stop what comes after. The corruption, the forgetting, the ghosts in uniforms. I'm not a soldier anymore. I'm the memory that punishes the forgetting. The boy didn't understand, but he remembered one thing clearly. There was a man standing at the edge of the junkyard, watching him, face hidden in shadow, gloves on, thread dangling from his hand like a lifeline. When the boy blinked, he was gone, but the dust where he stood carried a single boot print, and it pointed west.